Greetings and welcome to today's episode of Conversations That Connect, featuring Suki and Tayla, brought to you by Montague Group. So guys, today we wanted to talk about what is happening in the current market.
Yeah, it was just yesterday I was part of a networking group that were talking about the state of the market, and not just the state of the market in Australia, but the state of the market globally as well, and just comparing the last few years. In fact, there was comparisons to back to the 1990s, just where the market is at the moment. It was done by, what's the guy's name? Warren Hogan. He's an economist. He actually works for Judo Bank, well-known economist. And it was just interesting to listen to his view on the market. And they did a few polls. There was about 600 people on the webinar. And one of the questions were, and these guys, it would be small to medium business owners, not recruiters specifically, but small to medium business owners for across industry. And the one question was, how do you feel about the market? Are you positive? Are you neutral? Are you negative? And you think it's not going anywhere? And probably about 60-70% of the respondents said that they felt positive about the market, which confirmed to me where we're sitting. We're definitely experiencing a more positive market. There's definitely a feeling of, okay, we're moving forward. There's investment happening. All those projects that might have been put on hold are now coming to fruition. They're being looked at. They're being recruited for. So for today's podcast, we thought, well, if you're getting the interview, we've spoken about your resume and getting the resume really working for you. And once you have the interview, what now?
Yeah.
What are the things you should look out for? What are the things you should do? What are the things you shouldn't do? And we just wanted to chat about that and give you a bit more, probably guidance. A lot of the things sound very logical, but it's not always that logical. If you do an interview maybe once every 2 years, once every 4 years, it's something that you have to prepare for and get yourself mentally prepared for that as well.
Yeah.
And Tayla, you did an Instagram post on that, which was quite interesting.
Yeah, I did a reel on my Instagram about it, and it was literally just 3 common mistakes that people make that cost them the job in the interview. And for people, you're like, well, duh, like, of course. But for other people, it doesn't really come natural, or they don't think about those little things. And the main one was punctuality.
Yeah.
Don't be late to an interview.
Be early, actually.
Yeah, at least 10 minutes. Or even I myself, I'm a stickler for punctuality. So I will leave earlier than I know that I'm going to get there, but I'll literally sit in my car and wait. So then I know that I'm still going to be early. So even if you go sit in your car, you go in 5 minutes earlier. I think that's good timing. If you are going to be late, though, make sure that you contact them directly, or if you are working with an agency, contact your recruiter. So then that way we can pass on, hey, they're going to be 5-10 minutes late, just stuck in traffic. And yeah, you don't want to set the expectation that you're unprofessional and disorganized from the very beginning, because those first 5 seconds or 30 seconds, I think it is when they make the decision. So that's huge.
Yeah, that's a very big thing. And just to accompany the be early, it's also to get yourself into a state where you don't have to worry about finding parking and navigating traffic. And yes, things happen. On the morning of, kids get sick, traffic is horrendous and you're stuck. Of course, those things happen. And we're just humans. We're just people. Yeah. So just like Tayla said, as long as you let people know, that's professional as well. Just to let people know, hey, I'm going to be late. This is what's happening. My apologies. I'm on my way. That's the best you can do. But if you're early and you're there, and even if you're sitting in your car, it's just to get one less thing to stress about. You're there. Exactly. You know where the entrance is. I like to do drive by.
Mm.
And I can go, I know where the entrance is. Okay, I know I've got to go up the stairs. The recruiter would have told me, go up the stairs. It's on level 6. That's where you find reception.
And
Just to get in the mind.
Exactly. And even taking that time to just go over the PD again,
Mm.
go over the job description, the position description, go over any thoughts that you need to write down, send yourself a text message or send yourself an email so then you remember any questions that you might have, just so you're going in calm, in the right headspace, and that you're not frantic and your mind's not all over the shop. And that's going to set you up for success from the moment you walk in. So that's probably the biggest one that people do struggle with, and we understand it. Give me the thumbs up. The second one that came up was not researching the company beforehand and just practicing with common interview questions or coming up with your own interview questions and learning more about the company. If you don't do that and they ask you a question, it just shows that you're not interested or you don't really care. My suggestion would probably be look at their mission statements, their values, and the way that they do business. And then if that aligns with you, that's perfect. And that's another way that you're able to show that you are going to be perfect for this role, because you align with their mission and their vision and everything.
Yeah. Or any recent projects that you might come across if you do a Google search. If you're working with a recruiter should be able to give you some pointers in terms of the hiring manager is really looking for somebody in this area. Make sure you speak about your experience. Ask them questions. I think overarching, the most important thing to remember is they're interviewing you, but you're interviewing them just as much. It has to be a match from both sides. So get the questions out there so that you can go, okay, that ticks the box for me, that ticks the box for me. I need a bit of clarity on this. And of course, the higher up the position is in terms of level, you might look at the financials, do a bit of a financial review on the company, depending if you can get access to that. The financials of the organization, ask questions. What does this look like? Research, really, and not, down a rabbit hole research to show, hey, I'm interested in the organization. I've got a few questions. Or you don't even have to have questions. You can just, I've seen that you're doing this. That sounds really interesting. I have done this in the past. Synergy, match, fit.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to mention two more. The next one is poor body language.
Yes.
That was the other main one that came up. If you're slouching, arms crossed, or not being able to make eye contact, that also shows insecurities. And it doesn't show that you're confident in what you know as well. Most of the time, if people can't make eye contact, and I know coming from myself, it can be intimidating looking somebody in the eye, even if you know what you're talking about. But practicing that eye-to-eye connection and getting across exactly what you're wanting to say shows that you're super confident and you know what you're talking about.
So there's a little trick that somebody taught me years and years ago about this. And Tayla, you've spoken about the fake it till you make it thing. And yes, going into an interview is intimidating. And yes, it's scary. And if you're not nervous, there's something wrong, because you should be nervous. You should be nervous-sighted, as my kids call it, nervous and excited all in once. But somebody told me once this physiological thing you can do to just boost your confidence, and it's called the Superman or Superwoman pose. And I've done this where I would be early, I would go into just the general bathroom, and I would literally go stand with my hands in the air on my hands. So you make a big pose, and don't ask me the research around this, but it just puts you in a frame of mind of, okay, I know what I'm talking about. And they wouldn't have shortlisted you for interview if they didn't think that you could do the job. You're basically coming to tell them how you can do the job. So do that little trick. it works. Just stand there for 30 seconds with your hands in the air, going, I can do this. I know what I'm talking about. I have that positive affirmations. Yes, it works. I don't know the science behind it. Might be interesting to talk about the Superman, Superwoman pose, but I've done it, and it just lifts. It lifts you. If it lifts you for an hour, that's all you need.
That's it. And I think also to add on the back of the Superman pose is visualizing yourself absolutely killing it. Like go in there super confident, visualize that you're just nailing every question, and you walking out there being like, I've nailed it. That's it. It's mine. I've done it. So I think to that combination of everything, the affirmations, the pose, and also that visualization, it's crazy what something like that could actually do to you.
Absolutely. And making sure that you get all the answers that you were looking for in that interview as well, because at the end of the day, you can still turn around and go, no, not what I thought it would be. It's not for me. And that's fine. Ideally, if you've worked through a recruiter, there shouldn't be any surprises. You should know what to expect, and the good, the bad, the ugly of the role would have been discussed with you, so that you know exactly not really what I'm keen on, and the application would have even progressed. So hopefully you'll be prepared in terms of exactly where this role sits, but there's no 100% guarantees on that. A lot of times we also find that clients think they want one thing, and then they start interviewing somebody, and then they realize, oh, well, hang on, you could actually do this as well. And then the conversation does go on a different path. So that's why it's important to make sure that you find clarity. We've had that a few times where the candidate came out and like, well, we discussed this role, and then we spoke about a different role, and then they actually got the different role because their skill set was more suited, and we didn't even know the role was available because it just became available the day before or that morning of.
Or as they were talking.
It just, it came to fruition. So, yeah, ask your questions. And we say to candidates, you've got a gut feeling when you go to meet people, and that's probably more so when you do a face-to-face and you go into the office, you meet the receptionist, you potentially see people walking past that work there. You get a gut feel for a place. I always say, trust your gut feel. It will tell you if this is a yes, a yes, a yes, or a yes, and then a no, and then a maybe. So when there's a no and a maybe, start exploring those no's and maybes as to why you're feeling like that.
I also think too, it's not a bad thing to come away from an interview, and if you're not quite sure, have a think about it and then go back with more questions.
100%.
We would probably recommend that more than anything, because we would hate for you to accept a role that you're not 100% on, and then those questions that you could have asked before the offer came out, and it didn't, like, if it falls through. So definitely, if you find yourself a little bit caught up in the interview when you come out and say, oh, damn, I forgot to ask this, this, and this, which it does happen, get in contact with them again, or get in contact with your agency, and then they can sort out a phone call with the hiring manager. So I'd also suggest that too, if you have any other questions that you weren't able to get across into the interview, try to set up a phone call after, and then that way you can get those questions answered.
Yeah. And we haven't had one client say, no, I don't want to discuss anything further with candidates that they're interested in. They would be more than happy to have a clarification question or clarification conversation after the fact, to make sure that you know exactly what the role is, because it's in their benefit, the company's benefit as well, to get it right. We don't recruit to recruit. We recruit to fill the position and have somebody stay in that position, if it's contract or permanent, for a long time.
Yeah. The last one, it's also quite a big one, and I think too we've had a couple of incidents in the past which has really shone light to this, and it is dressing for the role. You obviously, different industries have different sort of dress sense. If you're going into a tech role, they may not wear suits and ties, but if you're going to an accounting role, they may wear suits and ties. So it's really dressing for the role that you want. So don't rock up in singlets and board shorts and everything like that. But most places are smart casual, which is nice button-up shirt or a nice dress for girls, some nice shoes, no ripped jeans, none of that. But dressing for success, yeah, that's a huge one, because again, first impressions, and if you feel good, you'll do good as well. So it kind of all ties into that confidence thing as well. And if you're not too sure on how to dress, there's a great app called Pinterest. You can type in that and get some ideas, or even speak to the agency that you're working with to see, hey, like, what's the vibe for this interview? Is it casual? Is it dressy? Like, what do people wear there? Or Google the company and you'll see what sort of uniforms they wear, and you could almost mimic what they wear. And again, that shows that you're dedicated, you've done your research, you're in line with their vision, all of that. So yeah, that's another big one that we've come across lately. That's just not
Yeah, interesting that we have to tell people what to wear. And I would almost say there's two things that are important for me. Number one is overdress rather than underdress. If you're a guy, you can always take a jacket off. In Brisbane, not so many jackets around, but you can take a tie off, you can take a jacket off and just hang it over your arm. For ladies, rather overdress than underdress, not bling, not nightclub. No, but just very professional. And then also feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So that you don't feel like, oh, I don't feel comfortable in my clothes, so that I'm thinking about my clothes instead of thinking about the interview. So it's basically what we're telling you today. The tips are to make sure that you're in the room.
Yeah.
You've got yourself organized, you've been there early, you've got yourself in the right mindset, you're dressed for success, and you're in the room ready to deliver.
Yeah.
And have the conversation. That's it.
Yeah. And although these tips might sound really simple, you'd be surprised at how much it can help and how much people don't think about those little things. But yeah, definitely top main 4 things. And nail it, really. Yeah. Go in there, be confident, show up as the person that they want in this job, or who you want to be in that job. And yes, go get it.
Yeah. Be authentic, be yourself, show them what you can do. And then at the end of the day, if it's not a match, then you've got interview practice. That's so important as well, because again, you might be doing this once every 2 years, 3 years. Yeah. So interview practice is just as good. So even a negative is a real good positive.
Exactly. 100%.
So that's it for today's episode of Conversations That Connect with Montague Group. To join past and present conversations, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify, and let us know what you'd like to chat about next.